Love for self and others has the power to bring people together, create safety, and connect us every day. Hey there, my name is Dr. Beth Russell, and I want to know, what would you do if you were not afraid? Right now. What would your life, your job, your relationships look and feel like if you could be unapologetically you? What's holding you back? This podcast is for anyone that wants to make a change but isn't sure where to start. Let's look inward together and let's talk about you and me, our mental health, our self-care, inner and outer selves, and all that makes us, well, us. It's time to get real, feel the feels, challenge what's holding us back, and connect. This is the Authentic and Brave podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Authentic and Brave podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, love. Given that Valentine's Day is coming, I thought spending some time on what it means to love and be loved would be a great topic for us to chat about. When I think about love, several images and people come to mind. One in particular is the season of Christmas. Every Christmas, my husband and I watch the movie Love Actually. Have you seen it? It's the interweaving of several stories about love between couples, workmates, parents and children, and friends. The reason we love it is that the stories are of everyday human love and affection. The movie starts out showing people greeting each other at an airport after a loved one has arrived from out of town. This reminds me of whenever my sister comes to visit and fills me with warmth. We don't see each other often due to living half a world away, but I'm quickly reminded how much I love her when she walks through those gates and how excited I am to see her and spend time with her. The movie triggers those feelings of seeing my sister and reminds me of those moments. And this is just one of the reasons I love the movie. Love actually includes the ups and downs, the heartbreaks, the intimacy, and all the feels of love. And like the tagline of the movie, it's a good reminder that love actually is all around. Recently, my family was watching the Sunday morning Today show, and several of the stories were about violence and people who've been hurt by others. My youngest turned and said, "I hate that there's such meanness in the world, Mom. I wish they could all just love each other more." And I couldn't have agreed with him more. Love for self and others has the power to bring people together, create safety, and connect us every day. Love is often defined as an intense feeling of deep affection. It's also defined as the act of caring and giving to someone else, having someone's best interest and well-being as a priority in your life. And this can also apply to ourselves. In his book, The Way to Love, Anthony DeMello discusses what it means to love another person. Love springs from awareness. It is only in as much as you see someone as he or she really is here and now that you can truly love them. I love this quote because it helps us look at love a little differently. It calls upon us to be more self-aware and also aware of who others are at their core, to allow for the authenticity of self and others. When I think about love, I think that it's a superpower. What I have found, though, as I get older, not everyone sees it this way. I think we often have to look for the good around us to remind us that love is actually all around and that it's a superpower. When my youngest child was 4, we bought him a shirt that said, "Love is my superpower." It was really cute. It had the words on it and it was red with some gray. Really, really a cute shirt. Of all of my children, he is by far the most in tune with his emotion. He's a hugger and tunes into when people need some love or are feeling bad. He relies on his intuition and isn't afraid to care about others openly and deeply. He has always been able to tell us exactly what emotion he's feeling, and for the most part, what he needs. And then he went to school. In kindergarten, he wore his shirt that boldly stated, "Love is my superpower." He only wore that shirt once, and once was enough. I'll never forget that day when we picked him up from school. He had switched his backpack around to cover the front of him as he walked up to the car. Usually a kid who ran to us quickly to scoop him up in our arms or jump into the car. This day, he had slowly walked towards us, head down. And in the car, he was unusually quiet. And when I asked him how his day was, he yelled at me, "Why did you make me wear this stupid shirt?" And gone was my emotionally confident kid. When I asked him what had happened, he said that two of the boys, who were usually his friends, made fun of him all day long and refused to play with him. They said his shirt was stupid and that boys can't wear things like that. It was his first taste of how cruel kids can be, as well as how boys learn not to show their emotions or love. We talked for a while about how he felt and that sometimes others aren't as comfortable with their emotions or showing other people love. It was a lesson for both of us on that day of how, at such a young age, people can turn away from love. Fast forward 6 years, and now he's in 5th grade. This year, he's reading the book Wonder. There's so much goodness about kindness, authenticity, and empathy. After reading the book, it's tradition for the kids to watch the movie in class. Upon learning this from my 2 older children, he quickly asked if he could stay home the day they watched it. When I asked why, he said he didn't want anyone to see his emotions. He said, "I know I will cry and probably be the only one in class. I don't want to be made fun of like I did when I wore the shirt." Ouch. There it was. That shirt with the message that is still so true for him today was also what set him apart from others in a negative way, at least in his mind. My heart broke a little again for him. Tears in our family are nothing to be ashamed of. Love is nothing to be ashamed of. Our bodies need to cry, whether angry, sad, tired, embarrassed, or happy. Tears are part of our life and our experiences. Our hearts need to love too. I never want anyone to hold back what they feel. It takes courage to show love and emotions, but also try telling that to a 10-year-old who wants others to like him. We talked about why he wanted to stay home and problem-solved ways to deal with the tears if they came. We also talked about why he might cry, and he said it's because kids can be so mean and forget that everyone deserves to be loved by their friends. And there it is. He totally gets it. Luckily for my youngest, several role models of love have emerged in the past few months that are showing him and the world that love is, in fact, a superpower. I don't know how many of you listening are football fans, or rather more specifically, Buffalo Bills fans. But as you know, we've had a rough go of it this year, and our hopes of making the Super Bowl wasn't in the cards. It isn't for lack of trying, it just wasn't meant to be. Being a Buffalo Bills fan is an act of love. Supporters of the Bills, also called the Bills Mafia, are full of love for their team regardless of what happens. I'm not a huge sports fan, but my family is, and how can I not support the Bills, whose quarterback is everything a leader and teammate should be? Josh Allen fought hard to get his spot on the Bills and has a humility that others do not. Recently, several NFL players were asked what their superpowers are, and they filmed it for a promotional video. I'll put the link up on my website so you can watch it if you're interested. When it was his turn to answer what his superpower is, Josh Allen responded, "The love I have for my teammates." I was shocked. I stopped the video and started it over again. And again, he said, "The love I have for my teammates." In the male-dominated world of football and winning, here was a man who wasn't afraid to show love. On the back of his helmet, he also has the words, "Choose love." And he does. His answer to that question, "The love I have for my teammates," was absolutely amazing to me. Others answer their superpower was their hair, love of cooking, or their skills on the football field. And while these are wonderful superpowers and are a lot of fun, they don't have the same meaning as Josh's answer. He chose love. And that's what sets him and the Bills apart from other teams. This past season, the entire team and others taught the world what it means to show love. When Damar Hamlin had a sudden cardiac arrest during a game, everyone on that football field, and those watching and those in the stands and those at home, chose to stop and show love. Love for the game is strong in any football family, but the way the teams chose to respond to Damar's incident showed love beyond just the game. The team did not go on to play, but rather stopped and spent time reflecting and praying for Hamlin's recovery. Choosing the love for a fellow teammate, player, and simply human outshined all the competition, rivalry, and focus on winning. I believe that the power of love helped carry and will continue to help Damar on his road to recovery. Children and adults around the world could learn so much about love from these men. Love is a superpower, and they weren't afraid to show it. I recently asked my children, how do they know they are loved? They had a lot of different responses because each of them has a different primary love language that we'll talk about in a few minutes. One characteristic that they all shared was getting and giving hugs. I'm a hugger. My kids are huggers, and our whole family are huggers. Hugging is an important part of showing love in our house, and not a day goes by that we don't. Did you know that we need at least 12 hugs a day for growth? 12. That number amazes me. World-renowned researcher and therapist Virginia Satir states we need 4 hugs a day for survival. We need 8 hugs a day for maintenance and 12 hugs a day for growth. How many of us can say we get that many a day? For some, getting 12 a week might be a stretch. Given everything that's happened in our world in the past couple of years, between social distancing and emotional distancing due to disagreements over politics and the state of the world, many of us are hug deprived. Thinking about hugs automatically took me to those who live alone and the impact of COVID over the past few years. Our world had to stop hugging, connecting, and touching each other for almost 2 years. Even now, how are you doing with getting 12 hugs a day? If you're like me, probably not hitting it every day, even with 3 children, a husband, and 2 dogs at home. I know if I don't hug my friends or family, I miss out on feeling loved and giving love, and I just don't feel quite right. I also think for some, they simply aren't used to hugging. They didn't have parents who showed physical affection and now have partners that don't, or maybe they don't. I see this as I observe other parents and their children, as well as with clients who tell me how much they miss getting a hug once in a while. I believe we should be open to hugging and encouraging our children to know when they need one. Unfortunately, having others meeting this need, or filling their bucket as we call it, isn't always possible. If we aren't hugging, we're missing out on the love that we have for one another. This past summer, 2 incredible baseball kids taught us so much about love through the exchange of a hug. In fact, Caden Shelton and Isaiah Jarvis taught us more about empathy and kindness through a hug than anyone I can recall in a long time. During the first inning of a Little League Southwest Region championship game, a pitcher named Caden Shelton hit 12-year-old batter Isaiah Jarvis in the head so hard that it knocked his helmet off. Luckily, Isaiah recovered and ran to first base. Caden was shaken, though. It was then that Isaiah walked to the pitcher's mound and hugged Caden, stopping the game. Despite being 2 kids from opposite teams in a battle to get to the Little League World Series when competition was at its greatest, Isaiah put aside what team he was on and helped another person in need. It was a moment in sports history that stopped the game, the spectators, and all those watching on television across the country. Isaiah could have reacted with anger or ignored Caden's reaction, but instead, he chose to see his pain and reassure him that they were both okay. He showed love for a fellow player, much like Josh Allen's superpower. He too used his superpower. I marvel at Isaiah's kindness and empathy in a world that doesn't value hugging and has a competition at all cost mentality. Their hug quickly went viral and made every news channel across the country because of a simple action, one hug, a reassurance that, hey, I'm okay, and you're okay. It went against the norm and connected these 2 for a lifetime. Not even the coaches reacted the way Isaiah did. He is the example I choose to share with my children when they see that someone is hurting or needing a hug, or simply doing the right thing in a time when it isn't always easy. Showing love is important, and human touch is necessary for survival. Touch is also one of the 5 primary love languages. The 5 love languages are different ways of expressing and receiving love, and they are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. I've created a free handout over on my website for you that lays out each of these types and their characteristics. Please head over to www.authenticandbrave.com to check that out. The concept of love languages was developed by Gary Chapman, PhD, in his book, The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, where he describes these 5 unique styles of communicating love. Whenever a couple comes to see me for therapy or someone discusses an issue they're having with their child, I will often recommend taking the 5 love languages test to better understand both themselves and the person with whom they are in conflict. Knowing your own love language, as well as your child's, sibling, parent, or partner's, is a way to help you understand how your own needs for love is similar or different to those in your life. It can provide insight and grace when differences or conflicts occur, helping both of you to feel more loved and appreciated. I highly recommend checking it out. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast and are left thinking about the power of love in your own life. Whether from greeting a loved one at an airport, a message on a child's shirt, the writing on the back of an NFL quarterback's helmet, or two 12-year-old baseball players reminding us to stop and give each other a hug in the moment of a hurt, I hope that you're reminded that love actually is all around. We just have to look for it. And like the Beatles said, all you need is love. Until next time, keep on being authentic and brave. Thanks so much for tuning into the Authentic and Brave podcast. If you want more, head over to the authenticandbravepodcast.com for show notes and sign up for the mailing list so you'll never miss an episode. If you're looking for inspiration, connection, and people like you and me, be sure to join my exclusive community on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at authenticandbravepodcast.com. This is Dr. Beth Russell signing off. See you next time.